Okay, so I'm done with all my grown-up awful responsibilities, at least for now. I still have to figure out something for dinner, but whatever. So I'm a little bit bored and I don't feel like playing video games. I don't feel like watching YouTube or whatever, so I'm gonna make a little YouTube video. Um when I was in Japan on a day like today where I didn't feel like going out, I didn't have anything else to do, I stayed in and I read Unfinished Fanfiction. I haven't done that in a stint, so I'm going to do that again today. But instead of reading a couple of unfinished fan fictions, I'm just going to read one, and it's actually a story. It's a remake of a story that I already did. Um, Back when Resident Evil 6 came out, I was kind of like intrigued ish with the idea of Wesker having like an illegitimate kid, and even though I'm still kind of like, why did Capcom bother with this whole Jake Mueller subplot when you could instead of having a Wesker, I mean not a Wesker, Jake sandwich, we could have had Wesker filet mignon, but y'all killed Wesker and ruined it for everybody. But they're bringing him back now, so I don't even know what's going on. But honestly, it was just for me kind of like, well, why are we bringing him back? This is too much hair out. When we didn't have to kill him in the first place. But either way, I kind of like the whole Jake storyline, so to speak, because it gave a little interesting flair to Resident Evil. Um, so when that came out, like 7 days after Resident Evil 6 came out, I was already like I was like clacking out the story, like clacking out everything. I was just like, oh shit, I got the story in my head. It's got to get out, and it got out. I posted it. People loved it. Like actually, it got mixed reviews because I did kind of have Wesker as kind of like this sleazy seducer kind of person that I call her Jake's mom. I call her Annika Mueller. And basically, like, I had her real young. Actually, I didn't have her as young as I wanted her. I wanted her to be 15 originally, but I think I copped out and made her 16 or 17. Not that that's better, but I wanted her to be real. Actually, I think originally I wanted her to be like 14. I wanted her to be real young and like real naive and stupid. Because at 14, you are kind of naive and kind of dibby. So I know I was kind of naive and dibby at 14. So I'm assuming you think you know it all, but you don't know dick, and you don't find that out till way later. But like I wanted her to be real young. I copped out and made her a tiny bit older than what I was going to make her. But there's some people down there walking their dog. But sorry, I need to stop sitting by this window. But the window brings in light and it's dark in here. However, so some people didn't like the idea that I had Wesker kind of like feeding her generic lines like, "Oh, I love you. We're gonna get married." But really, you kind of have to understand in this story that I created, Wesker pretty much was trapped there and was bored and was willing to play with this young girl's emotions to get her to sleep with him because he didn't have anything else better to do. I could see Wesker pulling some shit like that too. So basically, that's kind of how the plot of that went. It's up on fanfiction.net if you want to read it. So go read it and whatever. It's smutty. Oh god, their first sex scene is real smutty. And I wanted to put more smut and trash in it, but there wasn't any time. This is one of those stories, I'm gonna crank it out in 5 chapters. It ended up being like 13 something odd chapters, but but Wesker goes back and forth in between Adonia, because Wesker is actually in Edonia when he meets her in Wesker's Conquest. He's not in Raccoon City. Later on, Capcom kind of explains that he met her in Raccoon City. It was not explained at the time I wrote the story. So I threw that out there. Then they were like, then they backpedaled on the whole Wesker never knew. I mean, Wesker knew about it because originally when I had started this, there was this interview with the producer of Resident Evil, and basically he was like, quote, and I'm quoting directly because this is like burned in my memory. He was like, Jake never never knew his father growing up. Quote, Wesker abandoned his family, meaning he met Annika, had sex with her, got her pregnant, and took the fuck off. Later on, they fucking backpedaled on this and was like, oh, she never told Wesker. Why did you backpedal on this, Capcom? This was like something he sent his team up there to die in the Arkley Mansion. What would make you think he would be like this loving father and be like, oh, if she's pregnant, I'll take care of my son and blah. No, I can hear Wesker clear as a bell. Wesker, Albert, I'm pregnant, and then he just looks at the woman and is just like, how terrible for you. And like she's like, well, what do you plan on doing? And he'd be like, well, my best suggestion for you is to terminate your pregnancy. If you do not, that is your choice. That is as far as I'm willing to go. Like, he'll kind of pay money for an abortion, but child support, fuck that shit. Wesker pays no child support. He's like, well, you got on your own, Chica. So, I don't know, but that backpedaling pissed me off, and that was way after I had wrote Wesker Conquest. But I was going to do, like, a secondary story. I was going to redo it. In the remake, though, I was still going to have Wesker know, and, just no. There's this line, like, basically when he finds out Annika in Wesker's Conquest is pregnant, there is this line, and I have to read it. Hang on. Where, like, it just shows he gives zero, complete, -0, fake, like, what is it? Some ultimate zero? I forget the name of it right now, but he gives absolutely -0 fucks about this woman. And this is the line from Wesker's Conquest. Basically, they get reunited at this party. Wesker is trying to sleep with her yet again, but he like goes in the room, finds out she's like huge pregnant, and he's just like, okay, this is a new turn of events. But this is like the whole thing. So, conversely, as Wesker felt, because Annika put his hand to her pregnant stomach, and Jake starts moving. And she's all happy and blah, blah, blah. So this is what I had Wesker feeling. Conversely, as Wesker felt Annika's stomach, he realized how very peculiar and rigid her abdomen felt as the baby moved around inside her. He was sure for her it was probably the most wonderful feeling in the world, but for himself, it just felt abnormal, bordering on disturbing, and he disliked it intensely. Apart from the odd physical sensations of feeling his son moving inside his mother, Wesker felt nothing emotionally for this child. He felt no pride, no happiness, and no excitement. He couldn't even feel that primal masculine egotism men feel at successfully spreading their seed. Even that weasel Birkin felt a twinge of pride when his wife became pregnant a few years back. But no, Wesker felt nothing but apathy for his unborn son. Granted, the Wesker family name would live on through his son, but even that was something that disinterested him. And Wesker was quite content with feeling indifferent toward his son. He knew tonight would be his last night in this miserable little country, and he would never see his child, nor have a hand in raising the poor little bastard. No, his primary focus was on Annika and the curious lust he had for this heavily pregnant woman. Fucked up, ain't it? That's everything I could see Wesker pulling, so. And he's up sleeping with her and then leaving her in Wesker's Conquest. So, with that being said, I was going to rewrite that whole story. Even though I told myself, don't rewrite it. You don't need to be rewriting this. You need to just let it be and just leave it out there. I was going to take the time to actually rewrite Wesker's Conquest. And I'm going to read to you now the 8 pages, even though it took me 9 minutes to get up to this. The 8 pages that I have of the reworked Wesker's Conquest. The working title is called The Relationship. It is not finished. It's got some shit in there that I need to put in there, but I can't bring myself to write it. So I figured the only way that this would actually go out into the world is if I did it this way. Read it. So, it's a lot of errors in this. It's going to be a lot of mistakes. I will try to work through them the best I can. I suck at reading out loud, so we'll see how that goes. But I'm going to read it starting right now. The Relationship, working title, part 1, by Acha Noichi, yours truly. Okay, January 1992. Albert walked speedily to reach the Umbrella's security and intelligence building, blowing into his hands to keep them somewhat warm as he moved along. It had been a while since he had walked through downtown Raccoon City, but this was the location for his new position with the Security and Intelligence Division, about a half a mile away from Umbrella headquarters, in a building that looked like any other. Blowing into his hands again, then taking a quick moment to look around him, Albert was grateful he didn't drive in today. Traffic around downtown was a nightmare. Normally he would drive into town, but with the heavy snow in the city and its surrounding suburbs, it had been getting lately. Whoops. Hold on. But with the heavy snow in the city and its surrounding suburbs, he had figured it would be best if he took the train into work. I told you I suck at reading. He was satisfied that the gambit paid off. I'm sorry, I have to go down a little bit. This morning was a very frosty winter morning in Raccoon City. Glacial winds blew across the town, blowing old snow all around, while gentle flurries fell from the misty gray sky above. The people of Raccoon City went about their daily business trying to make the best of the bad weather situation. But winter in Raccoon City was very harsh, and this year was no exception to that rule. Some brazen people stood smoking cigarettes in doorways of various buildings, or shivering waiting for the trolley to arrive to take them to their next destination. Most hurried along, trying not to slip and slide as they traversed the frozen Arctic pathways. But Albert hurried along for a different reason. Today was his first day as the director of Secure Operations Division of the Security Intelligence Division, and he was not sure what to expect. His promotion through the ranks of S&I came far faster than he had originally anticipated. It was only 4 months ago that he officially joined Umbrella's Security and Intelligence Division after spending 13 years at the Arklay Mansion facility, then several months in the Army as a chemical officer. The leadership training he received in the Army was second to none, but far more valuable was his newfound knowledge of the Army's biochemical weapons program. The subsequent information about the program he was all too willing to share with Umbrella, and they profited from it immensely. That, more than anything, was the reason his career was instantaneously propelled into the stratosphere at the massive rate it did. I gotta go down some more. Being a middleman of the highest order was not exactly the intention Albert set out to accomplish when he gave up his position at Arklay over a year ago. He still had every intention on discovering what Spencer's true motives were for the T and now G virus projects. In the 15 months since his transfer to the Security and Intelligence Division was granted, he was still no closer to discovering the old man's motives. The last 15 months, however, had been a whirlwind. He transferred from Arklay, worked for about 2 weeks in S&I's investigation department before they recommended him to train in the Army. After that, it was 10 weeks of basic training, then a rapid rise through the ranks. Because of his 2 doctoral degrees, as well as his expertise in virology and secondary virus exposure, he was automatically given the rank of Master Sergeant. By the time his stint in the Army was complete, he had achieved the rank of Command Sergeant Major. While these were notable achievements, they really did not serve his ultimate purpose, and he needed to refocus his energies on that original objective. So he was all too content to resume his position with the Security and Intelligence Division. Ugh. I might have to make this a little bit bigger. It's getting old. I can't see. I got my contacts on and still can't see. Let me take a swig too. I should have got more water. Sorry. However, for the moment, he would have to satisfy himself with playing the middleman and carefully bide his time. This way would be prudent to keep his motives from becoming exposed. Albert would more than happily play this new role for all it was worth. Besides, the middleman was a position that did not lack in a multitude of fringe benefits. Albert went from being a chief researcher to an executive member of Umbrella's board of directors. His already substantial pay increased tenfold, and he was granted an additional 10 shares of Umbrella stock every 6 months. Not only did he benefit from this new merger, Umbrella and the Army were agog with excitement to profit from each other. Umbrella would strengthen their governmental connections as well as make an obscene amount of money in government contracts. The military, too, would gain a new weapon of mass destruction and gain a new weapon of mass destruction to enjoy lording over their enemies. Besides, it was because of this union between Umbrella and the Army that enabled Albert to be honorably discharged after serving 9 months of a 4-year contract. Yeesh. As Albert walked closer to the Security Intelligence office building, he felt slightly tense and unprepared to tackle his first day, something that was rather uncharacteristic of him. When he made initial inquiries about the position, it was left rather ambiguous what his responsibilities in the obscure operations division would entail. The previous director had died of a sudden heart attack a month ago, or a month and a half ago. Then his successor unpredictably declined the position. Oh, mailman's here, sorry. Unpredictably declined the position, which seemed rather anomalous. I don't think I'm pronouncing that right, but whatever. I wrote it and I can't fucking pronounce it. That's sad. At that point, seemingly out of the clear blue sky, Albert was handed this position without even applying for it. It was all so bizarre and slightly alarming. But Albert was never one to back down from a challenging situation, so he gracefully accepted the position. In the days leading up to his reassignment as the director of obscure operations, God, I can't read for dick. Ugh. In the days leading up to his reassignment as the director of the obscure operations division, I still can't read. Albert looked for anyone who could explain the situation of that department. What were their daily obligations? What are their objectives as a department? What was the previous director working on before his demise? With no viable answers, answers were forthcoming. All that was ever said to Albert was he would be a perfect fit for the position and he should not worry. Albert had no choice but to remind himself that when tenuous moments like this occurred, it was best to have no predefined expectations. Just let the day unfold organically and triage each new challenge as it happened. It was a strategy that had faithfully served him over the years, and today would be no different. There's a lot going on here. It's 3,000 damn words. Over 3,000 words. Pulling the front door open, Albert stepped in and brushed the cold snow from his black coat. Then he walked over to 2 uniformed men sitting at the reception desk. Before he could speak to either guard, a man walked over to him and tapped him on the shoulder. Albert turned and faced the young man. "You're Command Sergeant Major Wesker, correct?" the man said sternly, but with a bit of charm to his deep bass voice. "I'm your junior director, Jared Carter. I was told I am to escort you to the 12th floor." "Very well," Albert answered, his tone completely devoid of emotion. Jared led Albert over to a set of elevators, then both men walked inside. Hitting a set of button combinations, the door closed and began to take them up to the 12th floor. Neither man uttered a word between them as the elevator made a steady ascension upwards. When they at last reached the 12th floor, Jared stepped off the elevator, with Albert following closely behind him. As they walked through the office, Albert looked around and was taken aback by what he saw. This floor was a completely open space with no corners or cubicles, just a series of workstations with thousands of dollars of computer and other surveillance equipment at each workstation. Albert was also surprised the windows weren't covered or shrouded in some way. With a department name called Obscure Operations, it sounded like many covert things that took place and seemed like everything should be hidden. Instead, the office had a beautiful and practically unobstructed view of most of Raccoon City. This was a welcome, sorry, had to go up, change of pace from his previous position in the investigation department and a drastic transformation from the claustrophobic working conditions at Arclay. Finally, the men rested at two glass double doors, which led to a rather large office. What do you go by? Jared asked as he stopped walking. Command Sergeant Major Wesker, Dr. Command Sergeant Major Wesker, or Dr. Wesker? Wesker is fine with me. Albert answered sternly. No need for formalities. Okay, Jared said. This is your office, Wesker. How your predecessor had conducted business before would be to have a short briefing before 0700. Afterwards, we would break off into team surveillance until about 10 a.m. Then do individual reporting. What would be in the typical report? Recently, our department assisted in keeping several key officials safe during a major international conference. We provided visual support for those escorting those individuals. We also reported findings to the director. However, Jarrett replied, we already have a situation we're tackling. What situation is that? Albert asked. Around 0300 this morning, one of our pharmaceutical silos were breached, Jared answered. This is a very serious development, Albert said, taking immediate control of the situation. Let's have our team meeting now. Jared and Albert walked over to the center of the room. Attention, everyone, Jared called out. Everyone paused what they were doing and turned and faced Albert and Jared. Hey, everyone, Jared said sternly. This is our new director, Albert Wesker. He wants to meet about the breach, so instead of wasting time introducing everyone, I'll have you meet with the director individually later on so you can introduce yourself. Everyone present agreed. For now, let's begin what we have on the breach so far. As of 0300 hours, a pharmaceutical silo on Bake Street was broken into by what we believe is a group of men from an organized crime syndicate. Do you have any evidence to support this theory? Wesker asked sternly. Yes, a woman's voice rang out. I'm all ears, Wesker said. Our surveillance cameras were spray painted during the raid, the woman said. But before the camera in Silo 4 was blacked out, I saw a tattoo on the forearm of one of the robbers. I cross-referenced it with pictures from RPD's gang unit and saw that the tattoo was from a small group of young Edonian immigrants turned organized crime members. What is the name of that group? Hold on, let me make sure. Oh, yep. Okay. What is the name of that group? Jared asked. I had to find the English translation, but they call themselves the Warlords, the woman scoffed. Do we know anything about these warlords? Wesker asked. There wasn't much information on them in RPD's files, the woman answered. They've been arrested on a couple minor infractions, but they're speculated to have committed quite a few major felonies, but there wasn't enough evidence to take anyone into custody. Wesker said nothing to this information. Is there anything else we need to know? Jared asked. This may have been an inside job, a man said, turning around to face Jared and Wesker. And looking through the electronic key information, it appears that the codes used to get into the silo were from someone on the cleaning staff. Whose passcodes were used? Wesker asked. A woman named Olga Bukov. Do we know anything about her? Jared asked. I'm downloading her information now from the INS database. I'm downloading her information from the INS database right now, the man said. Let me know when the file is complete, Wesker said. Are there any other accomplices? It doesn't appear that way, the man said. Only one passcode was used, and that belonged to the Bukov woman. It does seem there are others at the time of the it seemed that there were others at the time of the robbery, though they may not have known what was going on, as they all work on different floors. Is there anything else? Not as of yet, Director Wesker, the man said. Very well, Wesker said, taking control again. Please ask the head of the housekeeping division to come with all of those who were working at the silo last night, with the exception of Miss Bukoff. I would like to interview them, see if they know anything. I will get on that immediately, Director, the man said, turning back around in his chair. Jared, Wesker began, do we have a conference room here? Yes, we do, Wesker, he said. Good. I would like to conduct these interviews in there as opposed to my office. I do not want to make anyone needlessly worried or alert Miss Bukoff. I understand, Wesker, Jared said. Make it comfortable for them as well, Wesker added. I need them relaxed when I talk to them. Yes, Wesker. Do. I think I'm going to stop here because there's a lot of reading, and then I'll do some other stuff. Jared ran off to get the conference room. Jared ran off to go set up the conference room for Wesker's unorthodox interrogation, while Wesker looked outside at the snow still blowing around outside. It appears that his first day in the obscure operations division would prove to be much more exciting than he originally anticipated. And I'm going to stop reading right there. Oh, God, 26 minutes. So, basically, what happens next is he brings in the people from this cleaning staff. He interviews them. I don't have all the interviews up. But that's how he meets, and I kept her name Annika. So basically what I was going to have happen was they were going to get a shootout. He was going to bring her to his house. That he had all this crazy ass adrenaline running through his veins. He tried swimming. He tried exercising. He tried listening to music, and nothing would calm him down. Annika couldn't sleep because she was just frightened because she had almost died. Oh, and Wesker kills like 2 gangsters, and it's actually the first time he actually kills somebody, and he knows he shouldn't like it, but he likes it, and that also is contributing to all the adrenaline in his body. So that's how they sleep together. So that's how she gets pregnant. Then, like, as time goes, I can't figure out the time going on, and eventually some priest ends up convincing her to tell Wesker because she wasn't going to tell him, and then she goes back to Edonia, has Jake, and that would be where the story ended. So, but yeah, I don't know. Part of me doesn't really want to rewrite it, but part of me really wants to have that smut scene in it. I need some smut. So, I don't even know. But, yeah. Oh my God, I just don't know what to do with it. So, I want to actually read another story. But I'm going to do it in another part because this is almost a half an hour. So, I'll get back to that in a second.